Hello everyone, Minstrel on the Run here, with a video I've been meaning to make for a while but have been reluctant in doing so, namely because I hate to focus in on one small aspect of the product line of a real beloved brand of mine to point out a product flaw, but as I think this is very atypical of what I've come to expect of this company, I want to point it out now in the hopes that they'll create a better product, and with their reputation I am sure they will. So as you can see, the company we have is Leatherman Tools, and this is a company that they get it. They have great design and great construction, whether they get it right out of the gate, like the Leatherman Micro, one of the very first micro multi-tools, which has remained virtually unchanged since it came out many years ago. This was mine that I got as a teenager when they first came out, and it still serves me very well. Or whether they redesigned something over many different iterations over the years. So you're seeing the Leatherman Wave, a bestseller, and kind of the modern day incarnation of the original pocket survival tool that started the multi-tool craze. And with each new version, they just find ways to use every millimeter of space for real high quality tools and just really superior functionality. So Leatherman, they get it. And so when I got my latest acquisition from them and just found more and more things about it that were wrong, it just really struck me as odd. And I was hoping that my experience was kind of atypical, but then I went online and looked and saw that there were other users that were having some of the same issues. So I wanted to compile them all now and again hope that Leatherman will revise what's in theory a really good tool idea. So the style P.S. certainly one of the spiffiest looking products in the Leatherman line. Also one of the least expensive. I think you can pretty dependably get it for 20 bucks at just about any online retailer. And I had originally toyed with getting this so that I would have a TSA friendly multi-tool. I ended up delaying that decision when they were announcing they were going to allow pocket knives with blades of shorter than 2.36 inches on flights, and we know how that all turned out. So I eventually ended up caving in and getting a style PS, and I thought it would also be handy because you could clip it on to your key ring. You could take it to other workplaces like hospitals or any other places or courthouses where knives weren't readily permissible, and just to have a set of pliers, which it's Leatherman, so they're well built, which could complement something like a Swiss Army knife. I just thought that was really worth it. And I'd had a really great experience with the Leatherman Squirt, which the style PS shares many design commonalities with. And so I got it and opened up the box, and I was pumped. It's a sleek looking tool, and it feels very small. It's very light. And the first thing I noticed, I just got all excited to use the pliers, and right away I pinched this part of my hand up pretty badly. And I will chalk this up to user stupidity versus a design flaw, but just something to kind of be aware of is that unlike on this side of the handle where you have this material that kind of insulates you from the pivot points on the pliers, on the other side your hand is flush with it. And so if you're a righty, that's something that's particularly apt to happen. So just something to kind of be aware of. So after I finished kicking myself, I explored the rest of the tools. The pliers themselves I've been very happy with. I think it's the best design element on here, right off of the Leatherman Squirt, and they're just very well built, and they've held up pretty well, although I haven't put it through much use. The next thing I noticed was the screwdriver nail file. And I was struck almost immediately once I pulled it out and just found this. An insane amount of play and wobble, and this is pretty much exactly the way I received it out of the box 4 months ago. That is not something you are just prepared to see on a Leatherman tool. I would expect that of a dime store Swiss Army knockoff, but not a Leatherman, even the cheapest product on their line. So it is secured in place with these accessible Torx bits. I didn't have the bits for them, but figured, okay, maybe I can get that someday and tighten it myself. Still, I think that's an undue burden on the consumer, especially when there are so few tools on here to begin with. If any of them are lacking, that's already a high percentage of the tool set that is less than optimal. The next thing I noticed, and I think this is the most glaring design flaw, is the tweezers. So they have a unique design. They're nestled within the scale here, And when I tried to pull them out, I just noticed how much resistance I was coming across with them. And they've softened up now that I've deployed them several times, but they're still stuck in there pretty well. And I can appreciate that. They don't want them just slipping out. But you combine it with the design on the tweezers themselves. I don't know if you can get a good view there. But it's basically a rolled up piece of metal. And so what that means is when you are working with all that force to pull it out, your fingernail is getting kind of caught on there, and it's actually kind of tearing at the skin between your finger and your nail. And it's just a bad combination. It makes it outright uncomfortable to use that. And I don't know why they went with this cheap kind of curly metal ball design. There's way better alternatives. Here are the Wenger style tweezers that are like a metal post. So again, nothing that you get snagged there. Here are the Victorinox styles that are kind of a plastic tab. Again, just very easy, quick, accessible to get out. And here to look at a micro multi-tool that has on the Gerber dime. Again, kind of the simple post, so that again, there's nothing that you're getting really snagged on. And they go in and out much more smoothly. So two things right away that just struck me as not being very well designed. But I think the main thing people get these for are the pliers, which, as we've said, are pretty good, and the scissors, which take the place of a knife blade. And on the Squirt, I love these things. They're nicely designed. They had a nice spring to them. And these are the exact same type of scissors, so I thought they would also hold up well. Well, never used them for anything more than cutting my fingernails or little pieces of string. And then one day I pulled these out and found that this spring here had snapped off. So there's no longer any rebound with these. You have to work these completely manually, which is just a pain. And as one of the primary tools, breaking so early with such minimal use, that's really discouraging. And I never had this problem when I owned a Squirt PS4, and I'm just trying to theorize why that is. I think part of it may be that tension is put on the spring when people take it out like this, because if you notice, they didn't do anything to kind of reverse the design to make the fingernail notch accessible on this side. It's kind of buried back here, so you naturally just kind of pull out the tool here. Again, I don't know if that is putting tension on where this spring used to be, but now I have a tool with 3 of its 5 primary functions that don't work very well. So I'm gonna be sending this into Leatherman. I hope they'll design something better, and make it so that this is maybe accessible more easily, that this screwdriver bit is more securely fashioned in place, and redesigning the tweezers. Because it's a cool looking tool, a nice idea in theory, and I would love to be able to have something TSA friendly to travel with. So Leatherman, get on it and bring the quality that I expect that you will.